After decades of secret relations, in mid-August, the United Arab Emirates and the Israeli regime decided to bring their affairs out into the open. Whereas the Israelis cannot hide their excitement of luxuriating in Dubai's posh hotels and megamalls, and the mainstream media are mostly focused on the new travel and tourist opportunities, less is said about the real deal going on between the two parties: fat arms and cybersecurity contracts.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.
One of the major motives behind Abu Dhabi's normalization of ties with the Israeli regime is, without a doubt, getting wider access to Israeli weapons and repression technologies. Wider because the two sides have already had good, though cautious, interactions in these areas.
The United Arab Emirates have been dealing with Israel since more than 15 years. This is not new. We can see that the Israelis have been selling weapons, and they've been selling drones, reconnaissance planes. They've been upgrading the F-16 services. They've been selling cybersecurity, hacking technology.
Israeli businessmen such as Mati Kochavi, David Maidan, Avi Lumi, and Abihai Stolero have been active in the UAE for years as salesmen for military and surveillance companies like IAI, Rafael, and Elbit Systems, Anyvision, and NSO Group Technologies. In fact, the two sides have clinched many deals under the radar, especially in surveillance and intelligence areas.
Because the Emirates is an authoritarian regime, the leaders can decide what to do with their money. Therefore, they need the Israeli technology to spy on their people, to spy on their enemies, to have good ties with the Israelis, and to merge with Israel business, so to boost also the Israeli economy, which is quite shameful.
In one of the most egregious cases back in 2016, Israeli NSO sold the UAE its Pegasus 3 spyware to hack the mobile phones of Emiratis dissidents and human rights activists, among them Ahmed Mansour. A few months later, Mansour was accused and convicted of undermining national unity in 2017, sentenced to 10 years in jail. He's now held in solitary confinement under the worst of conditions. Through normalized relations, the UAE is hoping to beef up its surveillance state with unfettered access to Israeli state-of-the-art products. In 2015, Emirati authorities asked Israeli Asia Global Technology, run by Kochavi, to set up a civil surveillance project in Abu Dhabi called Falcon Eye. While the declared aim was to be monitoring traffic and unlawful gatherings, sources close to the company say every person is monitored from the moment they leave the doorstep to the moment they return to it. With the help of Israel's former intelligence members, the UAE's shady Mark Matter company has not only hacked its own citizens, but also dared to hack high-ranking officials from other countries like Turkey and Qatar. In the words of Hiba Zayedin of Human Rights Watch, the relationship is expected to grow stronger under the New Deal, paving the way for increased surveillance and policing of speech, not just domestically, but regionally too.
All that cyber technology is supported by the Israelis, run by the Israelis, and even worse, It is run by Israeli intelligence service and previous Mossad operatives who are working with the Emirati very closely and who, without doubt, share the information with Israel itself when there are information that Israel needs to know. So basically what's happening is not only oppressing their own population and their own dissident, but also taking all the Emirati secrets and share them with Israel. So there are no more secrets in the Emirates. Everything is in the hand of Israel, and everything is directed toward whatever the Emirati regime wants.
Now, with the cat out of the bag, the Emiratis are reportedly seeking to have Israel's Iron Dome anti-missile system. According to Haaretz, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has assigned Meir Ben-Shabbat, the head of the National Security Council, to prepare for follow-on talks with their rich Emirati customers. Through normalizing relations with Tel Aviv, the Emiratis also hope to have full access to much-vaunted American weapon systems and platforms like the F-35 fighter jet. In accordance with the long-standing policy, Washington has promised Tel Aviv to guarantee a qualitative military edge over its Arab neighbors through not selling its latest military products to them. The U.S. State Department approved in May a possible sale of about 5,000 used, mine-resistant, ambush-protected vehicles to Abu Dhabi. More importantly, according to Yediot Aharonot, the largest newspaper in Israel, the shambolic peace deal included a secret clause allowing the UAE to buy the F-35 fighter jet. The UAE Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed reportedly agreed the U.S. brokered peace deal on condition that his country would have access to the advanced jets and drones made in the U.S. No wonder bin Zayed canceled a planned trilateral meeting with the U.S. and Israel after Netanyahu expressed his opposition to the U.S. selling of the F-35 to the Emiratis.
It is an illusion for the Emirates to think they can get the F-35 because the Israelis won't permit it, and the US will not sell the F-35 to the Emirates because they don't want to upset the Israelis. And Netanyahu said it clearly, the Emirates are not going to get the F-35, end of the deal.
The UAE's annual military budget is estimated to be $23 billion, with about $20 billion of that going to arms purchases from the United States. Describing the UAE Crown Prince, former State Department official Tamara Kaufman-Witz once said, "We have created a little Frankenstein."
The Emirates spend $23 billion every year and $20 billion only to procure arms from the United States. And what they hope to do with the Israelis, well, basically nothing more than what they are doing. What they have done is just force their population to adapt to the normalization with the Israelis, and they're not going to get more weapons than they have. And what do they use their weapons for? We saw the involvement of the Emirates in Yemen. We saw the involvement of the Emirates in Libya. And we see the Emirates are trying to be present in other platforms and other countries in the Middle East, just to impose their presence and try to get some benefit on the Middle Eastern arena. And they think with the help of Israel, with the support of Israel, that it's possible to boost their presence and their influence in the Middle East.
With deep pockets and insatiable appetite for weapons and surveillance technologies, the Emiratis are ideal clients for both the Israeli and American military and high-tech companies. Under the guise of normalization, Abu Dhabi is in fact set to further enrich U.S. and Israeli arms dealers, tighter grip control of its own citizens, and increasingly threaten its neighbors with weapons not at hand before.